Welcome back, everybody, to episode 6 of the Overseas Teacher podcast. My name is Carl, and today I am with my guest, Ashley Price, who is a online teacher and somebody who is going to China for the first time in the next month or so, I believe. Am I right, Ashley?
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully. I spoke to James, and he said that the intention is to get you out there within the next few months. Um, as far as I'm aware, the first batch of people who are going to be out there, Ashley Price will be included with that batch. That's how it seems to look. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm the first person to have a lot of their documents authenticated. So, yeah,
Awesome.
hopefully I'll be the first one on the plane.
So let's take things back. Let's go back a little bit and look into your background and what made you become to where you are today. What did you study at university? What was your aspirations as a younger person, and
Yeah.
what did you want to do as a career, and how have you now wounded up to becoming a online and soon to be overseas teacher?
I have so at uni I studied philosophy. As everyone knows, philosophy doesn't have too many career paths. So, I figured I was gonna start doing things that I enjoyed instead. It's primarily why I started teaching philosophy because it's something I enjoy, and I just found it. I
It's a
found
good way to be
fulfillment
able
in
to
that.
read people. It's a good way to be able to read people.
Definitely, yeah. It's really good. Honestly, philosophy. A lot of people do it as a hobby. I just decided to do it as a main thing. But luckily, because there's no hours to study philosophy, really, you're in there for like maybe one or two lectures, and then a lot of it's like reading and stuff like that.
Sure.
Afterwards, after my lessons, I would come home and I would basically just play games all day. I played League of Legends, World of Warcraft, and Hearthstone. And I got to like a tournament level, but I found myself I was playing it like 16 to 17 hours a day, pretty much. And
Wow.
it's just not feasible, and you can't do it that much without like burning out or I don't know, like to be the top to earn like a lot of money. It's very difficult, and I was only mid pack, and I wasn't really seeing any growth. So I thought I'm gonna just give it up, do something else, which is really hard to do after you've been doing it for about 10 years of your life. You've only
Sure.
been playing games for that long
Yeah,
every day.
I have a friend called Joao, Portuguese guy, my best friend ever, and he's turning 25 this year. And since he was 13, 12 years old, he's been online gaming. The typical, Halo, Call of Duty, then upgrading through to, Fortnite obviously is big, and then obviously there's other stuff as well, League of Legends, loads of different games, and he always had this aspiration that he wasn't sure what he wanted to do in gaming, but he just wanted to earn money and earn a living from being able to play games. And I thought, and at the time I said to him, bro, everyone was telling him it's a waste of time. They didn't understand it. They didn't understand the growth and the amount of capital and money that's actually in it. And I said, bro, online world's getting bigger and bigger. Play as much as you can. You've got
Yeah,
nothing to lose. Keep going, keep going. And he's made some money, but not money that pays his rent, not money that pays his bills. It's cheap. It's like cheap change. So
yeah.
now he's reached that point. He's just accepted that actually, unfortunately, this isn't for me. And what it comes down to is it's just so
Mm.
competitive, right? So many good gamers now, and everybody wants to be a gamer.
Yeah, I mean, you see like a lot of the younger kids now. I mean, I'm only getting older, so like I went
Sure.
back and I played some games recently with some friends just to see if I still had it, and I do. I'm not bad, but I'm not where I was, and I will never be there again. Just because like that's real estate that I can't get into anymore. A lot of these kids, 14, 15 years old, a lot of them are really
They're
good.
the champions now, man. They're the
Yeah,
champions. And listen, they've got one thing on you, and that's time. They've got a lot of
exactly.
time.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? They've got 10 years to get even better and make even more money.
Mm. It's
So
it's crazy, man. Honestly, like it's so fun if you just have like I don't know, some kind of like willpower to not spend all day doing it and to just like have fun with it, then I think that's the best thing you can do. But as a main thing, especially the amount of hours and the amount of like people you have to deal with that as well. it's really difficult, especially when they're picking apart how you play the game as well. That was one thing that always scared me. So I
Sure.
just uh, I just said goodbye. And
Yeah.
while I was at uni, one of my friends said to me, because he was going into teaching, he said to me that one of the people at his teaching placements said he went and traveled to like Saudi Arabia to teach English there, and he said it was really fun. And I was like, "You can teach in other countries? That's crazy. I didn't know. I just didn't know you could do that." And
Sure.
then I realized I've always liked to travel. Maybe this is something I'll try because teaching is it's something that I would have to do in philosophy anyway. Philosophy, you can only the only career choice you've got is to teach philosophy. Like, so
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
I thought teaching was a natural avenue,
Yeah.
and I thought maybe I'll have a look at it. I'll have a look at it, and then I found myself on I think it was like Indeed, and then I messaged the overseas teacher along with 5 or 6 other schools, and I got 5 or 6 interviews literally the same day. Um, it was insane. I didn't think I was always told, you apply for a job, you never hear anything back, and that's it. The overseas teacher and these other schools, they were instant, and they were just like, it's very obvious the need for this. So I was like,
100%.
yeah, the amount of like eagerness to interview was like a really big selling point on me thinking that this could be a good thing.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna do something, this is it, I think. And then
It
I
was the
started telling
exact
other.
same. It was the exact same for me, man. It was the exact same for me. They called me within minutes, um, which for some people makes you think, is this too good to be true?
Yeah,
But I think the real reason behind it was because you and I probably would have applied at the same time, which was at the beginning of the pandemic, and um, the demand for online teachers, went through the roof. Um,
exactly. Yeah,
so I think that is also a huge part of it. But then the other flip side to that, being on the business side of things that I am now, is it's a sector which has job availability all the time because there's always people out there who need to learn English. It's massively in demand. The the
yeah,
the the key is to find the a way of putting the student and the teacher together, and that's what we do. Once you've done that, the demand is everlasting.
exactly. Yeah, I think especially with how flexible the timetables are and stuff like that. Um, a lot of people, maybe they'll come in and they'll do it for so and so many hours, and then maybe they want to try something else, and the turnover rate is pretty high as well with
Sure.
teaching English. And then also, I think I didn't really question it because I'm straight out of uni, right? So like there was a bit of the naivety. I didn't even think that you just saying that now made me think, oh yeah, maybe that could be a bad sign. But no, I never even
I
thought
know
of that.
what
I
you
was just
mean. I know what you
I'm
mean.
naive. This is my first job, so I've I feel like any job I have afterwards is just gonna be a nightmare compared to this. I'm just gonna be like, why can't I stay here forever, kind of thing.
Sure.
Um, because I don't know, it feels so nice and the environment is so good. So
Can I
um,
ask you a quick question, Ashley? Actually, um, I I wonder, do you think that going back to the online gaming world, do you think that becoming somebody who spends a lot of time in something that's relatively new? I mean, you and I are of a similar age, right? I'm 24, you're
25. I'm older. You're a baby.
25. Yeah, oh, well, I turned 25 this year, so I think were you born what 96? 96?
96. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're same age. Actually, no, we're not same age. You are a year above me. What am I talking about? Um, wait, I'm so confused.
No, no. I'm March 24.
I'm born the 6th of November 96, so you are a school year ahead of me,
I'm a
right?
school year ahead. Yeah, yeah,
A school year ahead of me. We got there in the
yeah.
end. Yeah, so do you feel like because you and I were introduced into this relatively new thing, which was online gaming, we were sort of the first people to learn to be able to communicate with others virtually.
Mhm,
You know,
definitely. Yeah.
I, I, I think that raw, organic communication face to face is something that needs to remain forever, and it is a skill. But I think that online virtual communication is just as important now and is equally a skill. And I found that when I spent 8 hours, 10 hours playing Call of Duty with my friends in a party, what the real, what you're hooked to is that you're playing something that you enjoy, but you're speaking to people that you love all the time within the comfort of your own home, and you're having like organic banter, and just as you would face to face. What my question is, do you feel like the online gaming industry helped you learn to be able to communicate with people in a really organic way, virtually, and then using that for online teaching?
I 100% agree with that. Yes, I think for me specifically, I had to communicate with a lot of people because I was on a team, and you have to speak to teammates, manager, stuff like that. You also have to speak to people outside of the game as well. And then if you wanted to play a game casually, playing with friends and stuff like that, it makes it almost like the idea of like the this computer chair and this screen, this is my safe, like I feel really really comfortable here because I spend most of my
Sure,
day here, right? So
sure,
like I feel like I'm way more attuned to teach online than offline, just because of this. I think that this gives me the transferable skill to then be able to teach offline, but I needed the gaming thing to be able to do this, to take this
sure.
first step. I completely agree. I also think that by speaking with people online and versus offline, the idea of like the authenticity or the I don't know the word you used, but
Organic.
um, yeah, the organic speech from the online to offline. I think that they are two different separate skills, and you can really easily see that anyone who is a good speaker, in terms of like I don't know, going to a room and being able to speak to random people like this, like face to face, that skill is very, very difficult, and I would not be able to do it. But I think I could eventually, but it'd take I'd be very nervous.
Of
But
course.
I gamed on Twitch. I streamed on Twitch for a bit. I never got big. I think most I had was about 400 people watching my stream, and most of the time I'm speaking to the questions that they're asking. I'm just answering them. But there's gaps where you're just like, no one is saying anything and you're doing the thing that you're doing, and you can only really give commentary, and that was something I was really good at. It's why I can speak so much and just ramble on and on with myself. It's because I trained myself to be able to do this.
Yeah,
I have to be able to speak, and I have to make it so that silence doesn't exist. So I think that's also what helps me become a good teacher, is because I had to basically host myself playing games as well. So that
100%.
that helped a lot. That really helped.
I couldn't agree more. I think I think there's definitely something there. There's definitely a connection. Um, but obviously, in your circumstance, and don't get me wrong, you've grown to now becoming one of our strongest online teachers, teaching five
Thank you.
days a week, 5 days a week, right, or weekends as
Uh,
well.
it was no. So I used to do 7 days a week for about 9 months, and then this last time I've just started doing six.
Okay, so yeah, so it's pretty still working heavy, but it's um it's obviously become a little less, and that's good as well. It's good to take a day off. But what
It
I'm
really is, yeah.
interested what I'm interested now is we've discussed that the setup for yourself to going to online teaching was there. You were able to communicate with people virtually in a successful way because you have experience, and lots of people our age do. Um, but I think that to be able to do any kind of teaching, you have to master both. You've mastered the online communication, and now you're about to go to China, and you're going to be put into a completely different environment. You're going to have to learn to communicate with people face to face. And here's the thing: lots of people nowadays, like my parents, for example, they think that it's almost ridiculous that some people might find it difficult to communicate with others face to face. Um, but yet, if you put them in front of a computer or on FaceTime, they've got no idea how to hold down a conversation for a long period of time because they find that awkward. And it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It's just switched. And we were born into different circumstances than they were, so we've adapted to different things. How are you feeling about that transition? How are you feeling about actually facing your students and having to give the same sort of body language, the same commitment? to them as you would online.
I actually, it's really interesting you bring this up because yesterday I spoke to James about this exact thing. I came to him and I said I'm kind of nervous, not necessarily in terms of like teaching offline. I think it'll be very similar. I think the skills that you pick up from online and offline, I think um, there's very core fundamental skills that are transferable between the two.
Sure,
But when it comes to offline classes, um, the idea of like online, it's let's say I've got a student at the top and I'm in the center and I've got let's say three students at the top and I want to speak specifically to one student that I don't know their name yet. Well, how do I do that? Well, online, I just drag them down to the center and I say, "Hello, what's your name?" And they know that I'm speaking to them because they're on the screen, they can see themselves. But
sure,
when I've got a class of 14 and I need to find out every single person's name, how do I do that? I don't know. Do I point at one kid and say, "Hey, what's your name?" No, you don't do that. So I said to James, like, how do you get over these icebreakers for the first classes? And he gave me some ideas, some games and stuff you could do. The adjective one of you ask them to write their name down and an adjective beginning with the same letter. So,
okay,
amazing Ashley, cool Carl, stuff like that.
sure,
Um, and they will have name tags on anyway with their English names. But that was one thing I was really scared about. Just like not even necessarily learning names. My memory's fine, but the idea of just addressing the children in a classroom
yeah,
of 12 to 14, or even I think it's 12 to 18, how do you go about addressing groups and crowds? That's something I need to learn when I'm there. But James gave me some cool ideas, some cool games that you could play, and also if you, um, I don't know, like it's much easier. It's much easier to combat these like fears when you're actually in the room. You know what I mean?
yeah, sure, man,
That's when
definitely,
problem solving comes in. Uh,
definitely.
so yeah, I think I'm personally I'm very very comfortable, and I think I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna smash it. But also there's that lingering fear of just like, what if there's a curveball that just happens that doesn't happen in online? Because online it's so easy. A kid is screaming and shouting, mute. Like
And then you
um,
close the laptop and it's done.
yeah, exactly. Like, it's not that bad. But when you're offline and if a kid starts crying or he's hysterical because something's happened, I don't know how to combat that yet, but I
Mm.
will because First Leap's training is so intensive and so great. So I think it'll be a blast to be able to learn those skills and add it to my own kind of repertoire, I suppose.
Sure, man. I think that it's really important to see that there is no real demographic of person who is appropriate for this role. It's not just one particular kind of person. There is obviously a baseline of elements that you need to have, fundamental elements. You need to, want to do this job for the right reasons. But anybody can do it. You just have to be prepared to communicate and have patience and, all of the, the obvious elements that are needed. I think that what you're doing is going to be different. And I do think it is probably going to take some time to adjust. Um, and you are right. The only real way to do it, it's the exact same as online teaching. There was no practicing really, was there? Yeah, we practiced to, a few other people our own age and, felt really embarrassed because we were talking about, oh, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
To, a bunch of people our own age. But then the next thing you know, you're just thrown in the class. That's it. There is no like dummy children that you can practice on.
I,
And it,
I
and it,
actually I have an interesting story about that actually. So I did training with Career China. Career China out of the blue just messaged me and contacted me about First Leap's OE classes back last year in May. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll try it because I thought if I'm not going to be in China by then, I might as well learn how to teach.
sure.
So I did their training with First Leap, and I felt so bad for my recruiters because I was awful. I sat there, I was so scared. I remember I was physically shaking in my training, and at one point, no word of a lie, I was so close to pulling my Ethernet cable out and just, no, this isn't for me, dude. I'm not gonna do it. I was so close, so close. But
Oh
I
man.
thought, I thought if I can't do this, I can't go to China and I
Sure.
can't teach. so I have to do this. And then I thought, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. So I tried and I froze immediately. I couldn't say a word. I just there and I was like, so sorry. I think I think my classroom's froze or something. Just 1 second. And it hadn't. I was just there, just trying to
Yeah.
stomach what I was gonna say. And then I apologized afterwards, and I said, "Look, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do." I just spoke to her like a person. I was just, I'm trying. I don't know how to get these words out. And she was like, "Okay, well, just relax and just think about instead of." You're speaking to a trainer and adults. Just think, imagine you're speaking to kids, and I was like, okay, okay. And it helped a lot. It really did. And then I got a little picture I've got him here actually, my little brother. So I
Oh,
I stuck that with blue tack on top of my monitor, and right next to my webcam. So whenever I was looking at my webcam, I was looking at my little brother. And then I just imagined I was speaking to him, and that helped a lot as
nice.
well. And then I thought, okay, well, for my first lesson, I'm gonna write out a script. And I'm gonna pretend, Ash, the character of a teacher, he's gonna go in because I still didn't feel comfortable with it, so I had to really make that transformation. So I wrote out a script of every single thing I was going to say at every single point, and it never works out. Scripts don't work, but it really helps if you get lost. You can go back to it and you can start
Sure.
again. So I did that. I tried every single thing to improve, and it worked. It really did. My first lesson, I still can't watch it because it's so bad, but it's very endearing and it's very like I don't know what the word is. I was very humbled to see myself then and compare it to myself now.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, I think that first like leap of trying to do it, wanting to do it, and being able to do it, and that physical transformation that goes through training as well. If you're not comfortable doing it, I mean, I can do it now, and I almost quit. I almost quit the first day. So, yeah, and as you said, like I feel personally that I'm doing a very good job now. So, for me to have gone from that to this, it's night and day. It's really night and day.
Sure. No, I can totally relate, man. I started off online, and you know, for me, it's a bit different because I'm no longer an online teacher. I wasn't an online teacher for very long, but I found it really difficult. Um, it's so hard to be responsible for the progress of a bunch of children, and you don't even know how to communicate with them. Some people are natural. Some people are natural. Some people like yourself aren't natural, but then eventually you can teach yourself and you learn through practice and through trial and error. And I think that is what's going to get you through your experience in China. I think that what you have to remember is when you do go to China, it's not going to be like the online world in the sense where there's going to be, small miniature training sessions and then bam, you're in the field. They're going to
Yeah,
train you properly and you're going to be speaking with, experienced people. You're going to be monitored by experienced people, and you're going to get the best training in the market. So that, along with your prior experience online, should really help you in the direction of becoming an awesome face-to-face overseas teacher. And I think that that's really key. But the other thing I want to discuss on this podcast was the visa process because I feel like, well, you and I know your situation, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. But you've been quite unlucky with the process from showing interest of going online to, sorry, showing interest of going overseas to having a deal signed, to everything else. So I think that it's important to highlight anybody who's watching this that the process from having first initially having the interest of going to China to going to China for Ashley has been very confusing and very up and down. But that is purely based on the fact that, unfortunately, when Ashley decided he wanted to go to China, a global pandemic started. So
yeah,
I think it is important to highlight this before we go into it that your case is going to be very different. But I also still think that naturally, obviously, you've done everything that anybody who's interested in China needs to do. And I think we should discuss that a little bit more. So take me through the process from when you first initially made the decision that you wanted to go to China, and what happened through all the administrative stuff going throughout.
Yeah, well, I remember the first it was 2019 around September. I sent a message to the overseas teacher. I did the interview, and Dan interviewed me, and it was fantastic. He was the only person who interviewed me, and I can still remember the interview very very vividly now. It was a really good one because everyone else was just, I don't know, they were talking to me about League of Legends or something like that, and Dan actually asked me questions about why teaching, what would I do in
Sure.
this scenario, what would I do in this scenario, and that was really cool. So it stood out, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I'm with you. What happens? And he's like, okay, well, choose a place that you want to go. So he gave me 3 or 4 places, and I was like, okay, I want to go. I think it was Shenzhen. I wanted to go to, and he was like, okay, yeah, cool. So what you need to do is source these documents. You need to get the bachelor's degree, you need to get a DBS check, or like your criminal background check, and you also need like your passport needs to be valid for 6 months. You need the original degree also needs its transcripts as well. I think that just makes it quicker or faster or something. And
Yeah,
then you
that's
also need
true.
a TEFL. And I didn't have a TEFL. I was yet to get my graduate degree because sadly, my father passed away that year. So I didn't do my final exam at uni until like mid, I don't know, midway through that year. It was past that exam time, so I could have only got my certificate on the December. So anyway, I had no DBS, I had my passport, I had no TEFL, and I had no degree. So what did we do? I think he gave me the code to go get my own TEFL, so I did that. I did the TEFL and I did it as fast as I humanly could, while still learning every single thing on that TEFL. Um, I think I did it in around this non-stop because bear in mind, because I play games and stuff, I'm used to doing all-nighters or 48 hours.
Sure.
I did a stream on Twitch that was 48 hours long,
Wow.
um, which was very painful. But I
I
did
bet.
that TEFL, I think it was 26 hours. I did all of it. And I actually read through everything and did it all. It wasn't just like a control F, go through,
Sure.
find the keyword, stuff like that.
Sure.
So yeah, I did that TEFL. I handed it back within the 26 hours or something. And then um, the graduate degree, we just had to wait on. I had to wait until I actually physically had the degree. And that was a headache in itself because I was then living in Blackpool. I went to university in Birmingham. They were like, you need to come down and physically get your degree.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, well, it's such a far, like, can you not just send it to me? And they're like, yeah, we can, but we'll only be able to send it to you 2 months after that date. And I was like, is there no way that you can do this? Because I need this for work. And then Dan got in touch with the uni as well, and the uni just said no.
no way.
So yeah, genuinely, it was painful. So I had to then fork money for my my gown, my hat, my just all that stuff, and then traveling down to Birmingham on my own. I had no family there either. I was
Wow.
just there, and I went, got my degree, ran out, and then scanned it and sent it to Nate. Literally as soon as I still had my gown and stuff. I was in the printer,
Wow, man.
so yeah, I sent that straight to Nate. Nate was like, "Okay, that's good," and then we started moving on with the process, and that was like early December. That was like the 11th of December or something. Um, Meanwhile, I'd already got my DBS check, and I sent that off to Bella, and Bella got that sorted out.
How
So
much
that was
did you have
fine.
to pay? Sorry, how much did you have to pay for the DBS check?
DBS check was not much. I think it was like £15 or something.
Okay.
It's not much. To get it authenticated, the prices are a little bit more though. So like, the TEFL was free. The graduate degree and transcripts, if you count uni fees, no,
Yeah, they're
getting
not
that,
cheap.
no, no, no. And then also the hat and gown and having to travel is
They're not
pretty
cheap.
pretty costly. Then the background check, £15. But to get them authenticated, I actually have the prices here. The authentication for my degree was £40. The DBS needs to be notarized, legalized, and then authenticated by 3 different people. That was
Wow.
£77. My TEFL notarized, legalized, and then authenticated. That was 50, 60, £67. And then the Chinese consular visa service fee as well is £60. So in total, it cost £244, and then I think the postal fee was £10.
So
So that
two
was all.
fifty, 250.
Yeah, 250 for basically everything to be done, and then I'm ready to go get my work permit and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. So I did that. It was £250. And I was ready to go. So I sent all my documents off. Oh well, they'd already had my documents. They sent them off, got them sorted out, and then I'm pretty sure I got my work permit notification next. Then I went over to the visa center and applied for my Z visa. The Z visa, actually, I have a receipt for it somewhere. I think it was £150 for a normal delivery, or £184 for an express delivery. And the
Okay.
express delivery just comes 2 days faster. And I was like, well, I'm on a really tight time schedule here. I'm gonna do the express
Express.
one. I spent 180 on that, right? Um, and it did. It came 3 days faster or 2 days faster or whatever. So that was fine. And then I sent everything off to Bella again. I sent her my like a scan of the visa and stuff like that. And we were about to get the flight for China, and then it's like what, January 28th, China closes. So I've spent 250, 180, and then also I decided to go and travel to Birmingham to get my stuff. I wouldn't have had to do that if I'd known there was
Sure.
going to be a pandemic. I could have just waited for them to post it. So by this time, I'm about £500 down. Meanwhile, I'd already
Ouch.
bought like my suitcase. I bought a laptop because I wasn't going to bring my computer. I brought all of these things because I was a couple weeks away from going. I'd even transferred £500 into physical money for Chinese money. I've still got that money on the side. I refuse to get rid of it. I'm going to keep it until I actually go. But yeah, I was that close, and then just it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And February, we hit the end of February, and we're like, maybe we'll see how it goes. March, we'll see how it goes. April, maybe we can go by the end of April. Maybe we can go by the end of May. And at that point, I got in contact with Korea China, and they said, okay, you can try these OE classes with First Leap. So I was like, okay, cool. So I started doing online teaching, and I've been teaching online ever since. But more costs came up because in November, Dan called me again and said, okay, the Chinese border's opening, let's go. And I was like, okay, what do you need? And everything has expiration dates. Everything has like the end of its validity. So my work permit notification has 3 months validity. My DBS has 6 months validity. And obviously it had already been too long. I needed a new DBS. So I spend another, I don't know, like £67 on a new DBS, notarization, legalization, authentication, and the physical DBS thing, right? But then, Korea China, this is awful. This is the worst thing that could have ever happened to an individual who is basically, I'm just paying money at this point.
I know.
The people who Bella and Dan were working with in China that did all the authentications and had all of my physical documents go bankrupt. So I have to do this again. I have to do my degree, my DBS, my TEFL. I do a new TEFL. We have to do it all again. We authenticate it all again. So that's like another £250. So I've got all those documents now, and the documents I'm using right now with the work permit notification are those ones. So I've not had to pay anything more on documents since. So let's say this is what, £750 on documents, and I don't know, £100 to £200 on random stuff for China, and then the £500 that I've transferred into Chinese currency.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Look,
It is.
the thing is we is every time we talk about it, you can only smile and laugh because it's just one of those
Yeah,
things where it's just like there's nothing we can do about it. But actually, deep down, it sucks because, as you said, so far all it's been is just shipping money out and shipping money out. And I think that it's important that we talk about this because it is the reality of what it's been like for the last 18 months. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
No one's no one has any idea, what the Chinese are going to do next because they constantly change their mind. And even now we're talking, and it seems, fingers crossed that it's going to come to fruition soon. But this Indian variant, and you're probably aware of it just as much as I am because at the end of the day, it really affects you.
Yeah.
And I say to you every time, I really hope that we can get you to um, to China as soon as possible. But if so, roughly speaking, obviously you had to pay for things twice.
Hmm.
But if it was all okay the first time round and there was no pandemic and everything was normal,
Yep.
and or at the very least, because there'll always be a pandemic now, the COVID-19 is always going to be around, but at the very least, things were okay, and you didn't have to retake things. No one got bankrupt. There was no borders closing. It would have probably cost you somewhere in the section of about 250 to £500 total.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So it was about 250 for all the authentications, and then actually buying the visa is 150 to 180. So yeah, it's in between 250 and 500 depending on how much you want to, like spend on a suitcase and stuff if you've not
sure,
got one.
sure.
But yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, so currently there was another thing as well with costs and stuff. I don't know if this policy is gonna be kept because the Chinese government constantly changing their policies. It's very spontaneous. Can be one thing one day, and then literally the next day it's changed.
So true.
I also had to take a medical test. Usually, you take the medical tests in China, and they cost about £50. Um, but they're now asking for you to do the test in China and in the country that you're departing from, which for me was £400. And then on top of that as well, because everyone, with COVID, they don't want people to fly out with COVID. You have the PCR swab and the AGM antibodies tests as well. So you need those done at a place that will give you them. I think it's a 48-hour turnover rate. So basically, the rule for flying to China right now is you need these tests, and they need to say you don't have COVID. They just need to say negative on them. You need them 48 hours before you fly, which is a very, very difficult thing for laboratories to do unless they're specialized with that kind of equipment. So that's going to be another £200 probably. I think maybe anywhere from 150 to 200. So that's an extra £600 on things, literally just for this COVID stuff. But
Sure.
prior to COVID, and hopefully these things change. Hopefully with a vaccinated populace,
Definitely.
we don't need to take those things anymore. Um, they also need to recognize our vaccines and stuff like that. Hopefully, it will stick between the 250 to 500. It makes me feel really bad now that I've actually counted up how much money I've spent, but it's completely worth it. I mean, this is the thing I've wanted to do for so long now that I'm. It makes me think, only if I could have flown. But
Sure.
right now, if you compare me to last year, I'm steps away from getting my visa. I need to book the appointment. So I'm basically, let's say my flight was February 9th. My current date right now would be January 12th, roundabout,
Yeah.
because
Which is
I get my visa pretty much a little bit after that. So yeah, I'm basically just waiting for the appointment now.
that's
So
amazing, man.
I'm really close. I'm really close. It's
It's
gonna be good.
amazing, man. And I mean, I think it's important that if we're talking about expenses, we have to talk about what it is you're going to be getting in return. Um, just break down to me what the money situation is. I mean, if you don't, are you okay to talk about your salary? Are you happy to talk about your
Yeah, no,
salary?
I'm completely fine.
Let's talk
I
about
think.
your salary, and let's also talk about the other things that you get as well, in terms of what other money is waiting for you in China and what things they cover.
Ah,
Just so, because I don't want people watching this and thinking, "Oh my God, I'm gonna have to ship out all of this money, and then I'm getting paid a substandard salary." There's a reason
oh,
behind it at the end of the day,
yeah,
and
definitely.
and unfortunately, you've had to spend loads more because of the pandemic. But yeah, let's talk about those the monetary bonuses and stuff that you get.
Yeah, so it's there's different things. So I it depends on where you're going to be working, right? Where you get placed, it depends highly on. It will change your salary completely if I were to work in, say, Nanjing, Beijing, Shanghai, or if I were to go to like Wuhu or Anhui or something like this.
Sure.
So being in Beijing, my salary will be it's £27,000 a year before taxes, I think, or it's 30,000 before taxes, and it's 27 overall. Um, and then there's like KPI bonuses too. So if you are a good teacher and you're being marked highly, you get more money. Um, Also, they will pay for the flight. They pay for your quarantine. The flight is way more expensive than anything I've had to pay for. Um, Literally so I've spent maybe like what £1,500 and I've had to do it twice. The flight right now can be anywhere from £2,000 to £5,000. So I'm not paying for that. That's I'm not even gonna go halves. And then they pay for quarantine. That's another £500 to £1,000, depending on the hotel. And you don't get to choose the hotel either. You'll land, and then they take you to the hotel, and then you're told how much you have to pay.
Wow.
So I'm not gonna have to do that. First League pays for that. Um, they also offer some like relocation loan. So when you first get this is fantastic, by the way. Most companies I've seen don't do this. Most companies I've seen for different countries as well don't do this. They won't even pay for your flight. So like South Korea, I was close to going to South Korea as well. They don't pay for your flight. They won't pay for quarantine. They won't pay for anything. Firstly,
Sure.
pay for that. They pay for quarantine. They pay for. They give you this relocation loan that if you go there, they will give you like £1,200 out of your first paycheck, just straight up, just to help you
Yeah.
settle. And that's if you need it or if you ask for it. So that's like the monetary bonuses and stuff like that. They'll give you. I mean, the paycheck is almost an extra 10,000 RMB a month than what I was gonna get in my first placement. So that's crazy. That's really crazy. It's
And
around like £3,000 a month,
what
really.
about accommodation as well? Are they giving you money for your house as well?
So for me, no. I think so. What happens is they pay for the quarantine, then they'll pay for the hotel for training, and then because the salary is very high, I mean it's 3,000 a month, right? So like,
Yeah.
I think they're expecting me to pay for my own, which it's fine. It
It's
depends on
cheap
the
out there
contract.
anyway. It's cheaper.
It's very cheap, yeah. And again, with like housing allowances, if they were to give me a place, it's really good. It's a really nice deal. But then also, if I could find my own place that I like, that's a little bit cheaper, I get to save more money. So,
Sure. Definitely.
yeah, it gives me that like financial flexibility if I'm gonna find my own place, and they help you do that as well. You go to China, you're gonna have your hand held the entire way. As soon as you get off the tarmac, it used to be that. Now it's as soon as you finish quarantine, they'll take you. They'll take you. They'll go get you like a mobile. They'll sit in the bank with you. They have people hired literally to help you set up your life, and they'll pay. They'll help pay for your taxes and not taxes. Like electrical bills and stuff like this. So
Sure.
it's fantastic, really. The deal that they're giving you is way worth the money invested, and that's why I'm happy to. I'm going to keep basically throwing money at this problem until I get there.
Yeah.
Because I mean I know that they're taking a large bit part of the burden as well. I'm I'm sat here waiting. That's mine is a mental battle with a very small monetary battle because of the online teaching. I make enough money doing this as well, so that's fine.
Sure.
It is working every day, which it can be tough for some people, but I'm used to it. I got nothing else to do anyway, and I'd rather the kids are fantastic. So I one thing I realized recently. Sorry, I waffle so much. One thing I realized recently, I woke up and I was like, "Oh yeah, I get to teach Revan, Charles, and Thora today. This is fantastic." And then I was like, "Wait, tomorrow I must hate tomorrow. That's it. That's it." So I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, I get to teach Zito today. This is great. And then the next day, oh, I get to teach Elsa and Candy, and it's fantastic. And then the next day, I have no days where I'm like, I don't want to work today.
Sure.
It's all just I get to teach these kids today. This is fantastic, and I can't wait to do that in real life and be able to actually see them because they all have so like weird plans. Like Charles wants me to go play ice hockey with him, and Carl wants me to go climb a mountain with him and his mum. So
It's
you know,
awesome,
like
man.
yeah, if I actually get out to see them in first leap, I'm gonna surprise them, and that's gonna be fantastic. I can't wait. If I actually get there, I know their teachers' names as well, so I'm gonna find out, and I'm just gonna randomly pop up into their class, and I think that'll be nice. But yeah,
Listen, I think um, I think that it's clear to see, man, that you're going to China for all the right reasons. I think although we went into depth talking about money, money is just one small part of
mm,
this huge jigsaw, and you have to be able to accompany the idea of earning money with all the other reasons, and that mainly comes down to it's not a very big jigsaw. It just comes down to passionate about making about watching children progress in front of your eyes and creating a connection with them. Um, I think it's a great way to finish this, and I think that it's brilliant that you're going out to China. I think it'll be amazing when you get to surprise your students, um, and I think you're going to have a great time, mate. And I also think you're going to be a really good teacher face to face, just as you are online. So, thank you
thank
very
you.
much for your time today. I've really appreciated it. This has been the Overseas Teacher Podcast, and I've had a great time speaking to Ashley Price today. Thank you very much, mate, and
Yeah,
see you next
thanks for
time.
having me, man.
Yeah, it's
It
absolutely.
was really fun, and sorry for waffling so much, but
No. You're the guest, and and you're the center point of interest. So I'm happy that you waffled because it was lots of stuff in there that I think a lot of people will find useful.
I
Um,
hope so.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But thanks everybody for watching, and stay tuned for our next episode of the Overseas Teacher Podcast. Thanks, guys.